All right. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. And thank you for joining us for today's webinar, which is going to be around the new features and functions delivered by the IT Alerting Spring Release. But before we get into the details of what's new with the ITA, I'd like to remind everybody that the Everbridge Spring Release brought much more features and functionalities than the one that we're going to cover in this session, and that a similar briefing has been done, I would say, a few weeks ago, and went over all the features and functions for the Everbridge platform, which were delivered as part of the Spring Release. And so if you're interested, there is a recording available, so you can replay the webcast. Talking about this webinar, this is also a session that is being recorded, so you'll be able to replay it later on. And last but not least, at the end of this webinar, we'll have a Q&A session, so we'll be happy to take any question you may have. And just so you get familiar with the interface of GoToWebinar, you should see on the right-hand side of the window a question mark that indicates how you can send us your questions, right? So having said that, I think we can get started. So my name is Vincent Geffray. I am Senior Director of Product Marketing here at Everbridge, and I'm responsible for our solution around IT service alerting and Internet of Things, IoT. So here's the agenda for today. We'll start with a quick look back at the features and functions that were delivered in the past 3 releases. It's especially useful for those of you who are still new to IT alerting, so you have a sense of what we've already delivered and where we're going. Then we'll talk about, we'll get into the details of what the Spring Release actually brings you. And after that, we'll get into the most exciting part of this webinar, which is going to be the live demo. And I'm very happy to host this webinar with Lisa Radley today, our newly promoted Director of Field Services and Professional Services. And Lisa will demonstrate all the new capabilities, and this is going to be done live from Boston. And just like I said, at the end of this session, we will be more than happy to take your questions. So let's get started with a quick look back at the product over the past 3 releases. So I'm not going to get into the details, but the thing you may want to recognize here is that for the past 3 releases, our development team spends most of their time and cycles around on-call schedules, and basically making on-call schedules much more flexible and much more easier to use. If you remember the summer release, we introduced the import capabilities, so you could take calendars from in a iCal format and import it directly into Everbridge. We also introduced the publishing capabilities, which means your teams, your resolvers, management is now able to have a look at who's on call per team, per day, per week, on a monthly basis, and so on and so forth. So ability to publish calendars. Temporary replacement was also a very important feature that we introduced. That's the ability to make oneself unavailable. Let's say I have a dentist appointment this afternoon. I'm on call, but I won't be able to answer any call I may receive while I'm at the dentist. So I can make myself unavailable and choose a backup to cover for my unavailable time. In the meantime, around on-call schedule, we also introduced features on or directly available from the mobile app, so that as a user, I can make myself unavailable from my smartphone, I can also check my schedule or check anyone's schedule across the organization. Another big area of improvement was around conference bridges. We introduced Smart Conference in the latest release, and you'll see that we've also made new enhancements that are being delivered with the Spring Release. But basically, Smart Conference lets your resolvers get on a conference bridge in one click. No need to enter any access code or PIN. And we also improved the scalability with now a maximum of attendees to 250 people on the same conference bridge at obviously the same time. And as you can see, we also at the same time continue improving the coverage of our integrations to integration with most of the major ITSM vendors, such as ServiceNow and BMC Remedy, as well as Microsoft. Okay, so Spring Release 2017, what's new? I'm going to start with on-call schedule. So what is new around on-call schedules? So just for you, those of you who are still new to IT alerting, on-call schedule comes with IT alerting, and it's the module that gives you the ability to manage people's on-call shifts and escalation. So ideally, in your organization, what you want to do, you want to have all the different IT teams, you want them to keep their on-call teams information in one place, so that everybody knows at any point in time who's the primary on-call person, who's the backup, and who it will automatically escalate to in case the on-call people don't respond to the notification they receive. So that's on-call schedule. So what have we done here with the Spring Release? It's going to give you the ability now to staff by group or by team. So basically, you'll be able to create a shift just by using a group name, and automatically, if as you add people to the group or the team or remove people from the team, it will automatically be updated into the on-call schedule module of IT alerting. So no more need to manually add people, remove people. If you do staff by group, automatically it's going to be kept up to date. Next, another. So like I said, with on-call schedules, we've offered the ability to publish the schedules per day, per week, per team, so on and so forth, and make people unavailable. So what's new with the Spring Release is that we have added an option that you see here on the screenshot in red that will make sure that no shift become empty. So basically, let's say you have a few people on a shift, and for some reason, everybody decides to be unavailable at the same time or the same day. Using this feature here, you're going to make sure that as a product administrator or as a team manager, you're going to ensure that anyone that becomes unavailable has a backup, so that there is no shift left empty. Okay? Moving on, the next area of improvement is around Smart Conference. You've asked that we provide a recording feature of for Smart Conference. The good news is this is now available. It was released with the Spring Release. As you can see on the screenshot here, you can now record the full conversation, so the full teleconference, and you will be able to play back the full recording directly from the incident panel, and you will also be able to download the recording and store it for storage, and so that you can keep it for your records. Just as a reminder, because we are receiving sometimes the question. Smart Conference comes with your IT alerting subscription. It is there is no additional cost, and with your standard subscription, you can use up to 4 conference bridge numbers for Smart Conference. so no additional cost. But still, you still need to send a request to the implementation team, or just send an email to your account manager, and they'll set it up for you. The next area, or the next new capability, this is a brand new feature, and that's basically giving you the ability to post messages on an audio bulletin board. So here's the use case. Let's say we are experiencing of course, a major IT issue, which is going to impact a lot of our employees or coworkers. Let's say we lost emails. Emails are not available throughout the organization. You know that people are going to start entering tickets, calling into your service desk to wonder if there is an issue and if IT is aware of the issue, right? So proactively, there's a new modality, I would say, that allows you to post an audio message on a bulletin board, so that basically people can get this information by dialing a specific number with a specific code, and therefore they will be notified of the existing issue. So the way it works, there's a critical event, an operator or someone at service desk will post an audio message onto the audio bulletin board, and then people can just, by receiving a notification or not, can just dial in to check if there are any known issues at the moment, so they are proactively made aware of the issue. Therefore, they should most likely refrain from calling into your service desk. So that's the new modality, which is available, again, as part of your subscription. The next one, and it's a major enhancement that was done, it's about quiet time. We call it quiet time. It's also referred to as user device preference. Let me give you a few examples here. As a resolver, let's say I'm a network engineer. I'm used to receiving notifications when something goes wrong with the network. I'm on the shift. I am one of the resolvers for the network team. I can, if I want, decide on which device for the different times I want to receive my notifications. So for instance, I may have a personal smartphone. I may have a smartphone which is given to me by my company. And I can play with this and decide that after 7 p.m. I want to receive my notification on my personal cell phone, same for the weekend. And I don't want my the notification to be sent to my professional smartphone. So basically, you can define, as a user, I can define quiet times for any reason, and this is done per device. And Lisa will show you how to set it up from a administrator standpoint, but also from a user standpoint. In the meantime, as you can imagine, one resolver could decide not to be reached at any time, right? So as a administrator of the product, or as a notifier, someone who sends the actual notification, you can also decide to override any quiet time, predefined quiet time, so that for extremely critical messages, you make sure that they go through. Another usability enhancement, and I'm sure you've seen it if you've logged onto the platform since the Spring Release went live. You've seen the new dashboard, the new welcome dashboard, and we're going to continue enhancing this view. But now it gives you, makes it a little bit easier for everybody to access the incident view, to see at one glance what are the open incidents. From the quick launch pad, we can now start a new incident in one click, and we don't have to go back and forth between the different tabs. So again, this is the first step moving forward, a better usability of the UI. The next usability enhancement that I like to cover today is the multi-language. We have many customers have asked us to be able to provide messages in different languages, whether you have to deal with countries where more than one language is the primary language, like I'm thinking of Canada, but also Belgium or Switzerland, or if you have teams in different locations, different countries. You may have your developers in Beijing, China, or in India, or in other countries, and you may have to or you may want to send the same message translated into different languages, so that there's nothing lost in translation. So we're happy to introduce, with the Spring Release, the translate option, and it's pretty straightforward. So I'm going to let Lisa show you in the live demo how this can be used. So this is here a screenshot of. So the first screenshot here is how you would set it up and how you use the translate button in one click. And this is what a recipient would see. The next usability enhancement that was introduced with the Spring Release is the custom reply to email. As you know, when notifications are sent to recipients, and when those notifications are basically sent via emails, the recipient should not reply to the email, right? It's a no reply format. Now, what we've done is we've added a reply to email, so that for those people, for those recipients who are still going to reply to this automatic email, now you'll be able to monitor a mailbox, an inbox, where you'll see all those replies. So at least you know if people are actually responding to those emails, and if they do, you will be able to actually know what they have to say. Another enhancement was around contact search, where we are giving you more flexibility in terms of fields and attributes that you can use to identify the contacts. And the next one is about the new report. So we have introduced reports, so that now you're going to be able to track some performance indicators for each team, each recipient, in terms of the number of notifications they've received, how fast or how long it takes them to answer or to respond to those notifications. And you'll see different indicators, so that you'll be able to show or to see per team, depending on the day in the week, the time in the day, and so on and so forth. You'll see how responsive the different teams are. The next enhancement that you may already have seen is about email ingestion. So as you know, or as you may know, there's a way to integrate with the platform based on email ingestion. So basically, any application, any computer solution that has the ability to send an email can communicate and interact with the Everbridge platform, and therefore with Everbridge IT alerting. And the email is basically used as just as an API call, basically, to trigger a incident, also to trigger a notification based on the different rules that have already been defined in the platform, right? Up until now, let's say an IT operation management tool, an APM tool like a New Relic, an App Dynamics, a Dynatrace, would send an email to the platform. It would trigger a notification. Notification would go to the different resolvers, the different audiences, and so on and so forth. But in the Everbridge IT alerting dashboard, this incident would remain open, and you would have to manually get to the UI and close the incident. Now, with the Spring Release, you have an option to automatically close the incident after successful notification. So basically, something happens on a website. Tools like AppDynamics or application performance management tools detect that website is down. It's going to send an email to Everbridge, which will send the notification to the right people so that they can have a look at the issue. Once this notification is sent successfully, automatically it will close this incident, so you don't have to do it manually. And that is it for my part. That this is what I wanted to cover. So I'm very happy to hand it over now to Lisa Radley, who's going to show you those features and functions that we just talked about in a live demo. Off to you, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you, Vincent, for that. You should all be able to see my screen at this point in time. I'm going to step through the enhancements that Vincent went through in a particular order, and we'll be looking at a couple of them from an administrative perspective and another few from an end user perspective. And if you have any questions, just post them in the session and we'll answer those at the end. So the first item that we had that Vincent talked about was the dashboard section. So here you can see the new dashboards. We've given you the ability to have a quick look at open incidents. You can actually click on the incident and get right into that specific incident, or you can view all of them and be taken to the incident dashboard. So just a quick way as you come in to jump over to the open incidents. In addition to that, we've given you quick launch buttons. So you can have the new incidents, you can do a quick launch to upload contacts or create a new contact manually if you want. So just a few options within the dashboard to make things a little bit easier for you and give you a little bit more one click into things. You can manage what you actually see on this dashboard from the Manage Widgets section. We've also given you the ability to turn the auto refresh on that dashboard on, so it's constantly refreshing, so your open incident list is being updated as you go through it. Okay. From there, the next couple of items I want to cover touch on the contact section. So as Vincent mentioned, we have two particular enhancements around contacts. The first was giving you a little bit more improvement on your contact search options. So in the advanced search section, what we've done is for the country, the contact country, we've given you the ability to have kind of what we call multi-select to some extent. So you can select the United States and you can select anyone from the United Kingdom. And it will then go out and pull back those individuals that have that, those countries listed for them. Okay? We've done the same thing for the contact record type. The biggest enhancement we've done around contacts comes with what we refer to as quiet time. So I'm actually just going to find my contact record here, if I could type, and pull up that contact record. What we found was we have a number of clients, obviously people either go on vacation or people don't want to be notified via text message in the middle of the night. So your incident templates may be set up with a set of delivery paths. For example, phone, text, contact bridge, all of the possible paths. But I know for me, I'm not going to wake up to a text message in the middle of the night, so I'd rather skip that completely. So we've given you the ability to specify what we call quiet times. So when you take a look in your delivery methods section, and I'll explain to you where to enable this, you now have the section for status and quiet time for each of the delivery methods that you have. Status, very simple, is this delivery method on or off? So I could actually disable my mobile phone so that any time you try to contact me, my mobile phone is not going to be a delivery path for me at that point in time. Okay? So that allows me to shut it off completely. Or I can specify a quiet time. I can say during the day, daytime, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, between, we'll say, 10 a.m. and 12, don't contact me on my mobile phone. Okay, so effectively setting a quiet time for that particular device. As you can see down here on my office phone, I have two quiet times, right? I have one that runs days from 5 p.m. to 9 a.m., and then one for the weekend, which is Saturday and Sunday all day long. Obviously, why call my office phone? Hopefully I'm not in the office on Saturday and Sunday. Okay, so you can have multiple quiet time paths specified on there. All right? Now, say somebody actually is going on vacation and they tell you they don't want you to take them out of rotation, they just want them to ensure they don't get any contact on any of their delivery paths, you could simply come in here as an admin and turn them all off. Okay, so they may be in the rotation and it will bypass through them because there's no way to contact them. Okay, this is how you would actually perform this action as an admin. So you have complete control over it. You also have control over overriding what the individuals have selected from that point. So then you just save your contact record and go on. If you want to do this as an end user, I'm going to use my demo portal. It looks very much the same, but now I'm in my member portal account, and I'm going to edit my profile, which has all of my contact delivery paths, and you can see we have the same features here. Status is on or off, so I can actually turn off my work email if I want as an end user, turn it back on, and I can set a quiet time. And it looks the same, and it's picked up my time zone, so it knows what time zone to apply it in. Okay? So there I can do exactly the same thing I did as an admin, but as an end user. So I have now more control over what I want, when I want to be notified on my mobile phone. Okay. With the quiet time, from a setup perspective, it is set up at an account level. So if you don't see it in your account right now, if you go into your contact records and you don't see it, you have to set it at the account level. So if I come into my account level and I go to delivery methods, there is a checkbox for enable the account and its organizations to turn on delivery path quiet time. Once you set it at the account level, you then can set it at individual organization levels. So I do the exact same thing in the organization, notifications, delivery methods, and I can enable it for one organization or multiple organizations. So for those of you that maybe have multiple organizations, you only want to turn it on for one, you can actually do that. Okay? All right. The last piece that we covered.
We have two questions about quiet time.
Yes. Do you want me to answer them now or as we go? Nope, fine with me. Can I actually see those if I could read?
Can you override?
Thank you. Can you override? Yes, that's actually where I was about to go next, is you can actually override it on the template. So as we talked about, as Vincent showed, you may actually have a situation or a particular template that you use where you want to override whatever anyone has put in for the quiet time. So on your template, you simply come to the settings section, scroll down, and right here you have the override delivery method status and quiet. So if people have turned it off or people have set a quiet time, you can actually choose to override that on a particular template. All right? You can set that on your template from an administrative perspective. If your operators are operating the template and launching the template, if they have permission to edit settings, they can also turn it on at that point in time. Okay, so that is the way to override that. And I'll have you ask me the other question as well, just because I can't read that part. So
the second question is, for the quiet time on the portal, can you redirect notifications to your backup?
So to your, I'm assuming that means backup as in your secondary person from an on-call schedule perspective. You would actually handle that, and we'll cover that in the next section too. You can handle that from a make unavailable, where you can actually set a replacement. So if you actually are going to be out, rather than just disable your, set up quiet times or disable your devices, you can set a replacement for you from that perspective. Okay. Okay. So that was a great lead-in to our next item, which is on-call schedules. So as Vincent mentioned, we have really three new things that we've introduced with the on-call schedules. The first is the ability to staff by group. The second is the ability to ensure that a shift is not left unstaffed. And then the third is self-service via the member portal and how you can manage your unavailability through the member portal. All right, so we're going to start with the first two. We're going to group those together, staffing by group and no empty shifts. So I have here a calendar that I created just for today. If I want to add staff to this particular calendar, I can give this my webinar team. I'm adding a staffing layer. I have individuals. Now I can also specify a group. So if I want, I can specify the webinar team. You can see over here it's actually an entire group that's now staffed. In addition to that, I can also say this layer must have at least one staff member. So for those of you that want to ensure you don't leave a shift or a layer unstaffed, you'll want to come back and take a look at your layers and check that box to ensure that someone is always staffed on that particular layer. Okay? So once I save this, if I take a look at show staffing, another thing that was introduced with our fall release, the ability to actually see who is staffed, you can see from my 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., I have the webinar team staffed here, okay? But if I hover over it, it will tell me who is actually part of that webinar team. So that should come up in just a second, and you can see the individuals that are part of that. Now, the nice thing about staffing by group, I have a number of people that actually staff an entire group on a shift or on a layer, and now they can just manage the ins and outs of that group through the group management perspective. They don't actually have to come into the calendar and say, oh, now these people joined the group. It all gets handled over in the group section here. Okay? And then you also saw the no empty shift in there. Right? The last piece that I want to cover before I jump into the self-service piece is something that was introduced in our fall release, which is the publishing of our calendars. So as it stands today, we now have kind of this new interface here for determining the settings of the calendar. Is it active? Is it inactive? Do you want to copy it, delete it, things like that? Biggest one is publish. Publish for us right now is publish to the member portal. So you get to decide which calendars you would like to have published to the member portal simply by marking them published or unpublished. Okay? By default, a calendar is marked unpublished when you first create it. If you only make it active, it is still not published, so you would want to make sure that you come back in and publish it if you would like it to be viewed on the member portal. Okay? Now, within that, the other piece that you also need to do is in the member portal section of your settings, so if you come to settings and you come to the member portal section, you have the feature for publish calendar. You have to determine which calendars you would like to publish. So it's a combination of publishing the calendar and ensuring in your member portal you've actually set up to allow publishing of those calendars. So you can say that you would like to publish any calendar that's marked published to the portal. You can show that for all record types, or I could simply say I only want to allow employees to see this, or employees and customers. However your record types may be, you can specify it by one or more record types. And you do the same thing for personal schedules. So when we look at the portal, we'll actually see, you'll see two different settings of calendars. One is for my schedules, one is for personal, or one is for all schedules. Okay? So once you've published your calendars, you'll want to make sure that this setting is in place as well. And then when you come back over to the member portal, you'll see up here that you have an on-call schedule section. So if I click on the on-call schedule, I'm going to say yes because I didn't want to keep my changes. You can see right here, I'm not sure if you can see that well enough. Let's do an adjustment here for a second. And so this is my schedule. I will come in as a default to my schedule. Okay, so I can see all of my calendars that I'm on. I'm on the webinar calendar. I'm on the applications calendar. I can look at my schedules for the day. I can look at them for the month. Okay, so a little bit of flexibility. So I, as an end user, can now see when I'm on call, and I can adjust accordingly. Now, within my schedule, I'm going to flip it back to a week. It's a little easier to see. I can now edit my availability. So if I hover over the calendar that I want to change my availability on, I can say that today I'm unavailable for a period of time. I don't want it to be all day. I'm simply going to say from 1 p.m., actually we'll do this in the future, so from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. I'm unavailable. And I can designate a replacement. So I can find Vincent, who will so nicely take over for me, and designate him as a replacement on my calendar. Okay? So now, for this period of time, I'm actually going to be unavailable, and it will roll over to Vincent. Okay? Now, that's on my calendar, so I can make those adjustments on my calendar. And I can actually also, I can edit things as well. If I put in an replacement, I can actually remove it. As you can see here, I can delete it. If I come back in and say, oh, no, sorry, I'm actually not going to go to my doctor's appointment, I'm going to be in the office, I can remove that. Or I can remain and let Vincent still be on call. Now, the other thing that we've allowed once you opt to publish calendars is you have the ability to see the calendars that we've published. So, for example, if you've published all of your on-call calendars, that's great. An individual can come out here and see them. If you've made it available to all record types, they will be here. If you've only made it available for employees, only employees will be able to see it. Okay, so they can see information about this, they can click on the calendar itself, they can see who's on call, they can look at the schedule, and they can see how it rolls. So this gives them a little bit more visibility into whoever's on call. For example, if I needed to contact someone because I was having an issue and I just didn't have time to get back to the service desk to have them do it, I could look here and do that. Now, saying that, you also may want to have some calendars that you don't publish. For example, senior executives, you don't want to publish a calendar for them. So do not mark it published in the UI. Okay? All right. So I think from an on-call perspective, that gives you everything on there. So with that, no questions on that, we will jump over to incidents, and we will talk about the multi-language support for the incidents scenario component. Okay? So what we've done is given you the ability, as Vincent said, to essentially send out multiple templates at once in different languages. And the way that you accomplish this is effectively you build out the templates as you want. So you can see here I'm going to use my alert subscription template, which you should see at the top of my screen. I've got English, French, and Spanish. So you build them out, and when you create variables for them, your variables are appended with the language name that you want. For example, I have a detailed business variable, and I've appended French to the end of it, okay? And the same thing for impact to business. So there are certain variables on here that I actually want to translate the information going into them, okay? And I would do the same thing for English. You can see that I have the English template, and it has those same variables with the names, but just English on the end of them, okay? So once you have your templates built, what you do from there is you'll go into scenarios, okay? And you can create a new scenario, and I have one here, but effectively you create a new scenario named alert subscription, for example, and you're going to append translation to the end of it, okay? I'm just going to edit the one I have in place already. You will add the templates that you want to have added to it, okay? And then that will be everything you need to do in order to have this prepared and in place. All right? Once you've done that and you have the templates in place, you can actually launch that scenario. So now when I launch the incident, scenarios are listed right at the top. And again, scenario is a feature that you can enable in your settings in here. Some of you may not see it today, but it is part of the IT alerting subscription, so you can just enable it. When I look at the scenario for the alert subscriptions with the translation, you can see at the top now I have this feature for translate. So translate from English, okay, and there's a quick little disclaimer here that you can actually look at. But I can put the information in here, so you'll forgive me for the typing. Low performance on finance reports. Once I have the information in here, I simply click the Translate button, and it's going to translate that information into the field below it. So these two fields match up, Details Business, English, and French. They match up, and I'll do the same thing, delayed processing for the impact to business. Don't judge me on my typing. Same thing again for Translate. Okay, if I had 3 templates in here, if I had my Spanish template in here, I would have an impact to business Spanish, and it would also translate into Spanish for that. And then I have my other common fields that I can just place in here. And off will go my template. Okay. Now, there's a couple of ways you will designate who's going to receive which template. You'll have all of that in place, and that information will come through in the language that they've selected or that you've actually set up for. So I have a particular email address that is set to get the French template, and then I will also receive the English template so that you can actually see how those come through. Now, if you want, you can come right in here and take a look, and we can see that in the French template, it was actually sent through with the translation in it. So you can see the custom email address as it went out, and it has that information in it. And then we can look at the same for the English. And you can see how that came through. Okay. All right. So one of the other things that I wanted to show you on here was, Vincent had mentioned it as he went through, was our custom reply to. So on here, as you can see on my screen, you should actually see the email that I received. That will come up for you. So you will actually see it on here, and you can see that I've got my sender information from, and you can see where it's coming from. If I opt to reply, even though, and we all know this happens, down at the bottom I say, please don't reply to this message, the mailbox isn't monitored, someone inevitably will click reply. So when they click reply, what you'll notice is that in here I have this email address as my custom reply to. So it's not going to go back to lisa.radley@everbridge.com or no reply at everbridge.com. It's actually going to go back to this Gmail address that I've specified above, testing reply to. So now this gives you the ability to actually send back to a mailbox in your organization so that you can monitor it for those people that do click reply even though you have told them 900 times not to click reply. Okay. So in the interest of time, there's at least one or two more items that I want to show you on here. The first one would be the reports. Okay. The new reports that we've been talking about are contact performance by incident and group performance by incident. Okay. These are two new reports that we've put in place to give you a little bit of a view into the details of the notifications and they're going out and really the performance by a group, by an individual. So when you come in here, you get to set your date and time range to run this. You can select if you want to look at open incidents or closed incidents, and then you get the option for a summary or a full details. Personally, I prefer the full details because you can get as much information as you possibly want out of this. Once you click to generate this report, it will actually tell you that it's going to create that report and email you the link to it. So it will generate that in the background, and that may depend on the time range that you specify. Okay? You'll see that the interface for the group performance is the same. Again, you can do open status. You can actually also do some additional filters here if you're looking for a particular incident name, template name, things like that. Okay? So once you click to generate the report, it will go off and generate that report. And I did this ahead of time so you didn't have to wait and watch me do this. But effectively, the report comes out, as Vincent showed you in his screenshot, with the information here. It's got all of the information from the report that you specified. And then details. This is the contact performance by incident report. So you can see who the recipient was, what the name of the incident was, what the template was, when it was sent, the Everbridge ID for it, what the status is, but importantly, as you come across here, you can see the positive and negative responses or the no responses from a particular individual. So you can see down below here, this person constantly doesn't respond. For those that do respond, you get their performance. What time did you first attempt to call them? When did they actually confirm? This report, from either the group or the contact perspective, gives you the ability to do a little bit of what the incident report on each incident does, but at a larger level, larger scale. So you can get all of your incidents for a month, and you can actually see how your contacts performed within that month. The last piece that we provide for you on both reports is the time to respond. So now you can actually take a look and see how you're doing from a performance perspective, either as an individual or, again, looking at the group, which is very much the same information. What is the group name? This gives you the group and the calendar and the shift. So it's the calendar, and in this case, it's my database SQL calendar with the 24/7 shift. Okay, so you can actually see it down to a shift level, whether or not that shift is sequenced, and again, the positive and negative responses to that. Okay, and then the time to respond. And whether an escalation was triggered on that. So if you have escalations on your templates from there. Okay, so those are the reports. And then the last piece that I'll do very quickly is just launch a Conference Bridge notification so that we can actually send that out and we can take a look at how that works. And give me 1 second, and I'll get that kicked off. Ignore all of my changing here. So as you can see on here on the Conference Bridge, I've specified a Conference Bridge template. In my template, I had actually specified to record this conference. I can also turn on the enter and exit sounds and validate my callers. Okay, so for this one, I've just got a few contacts that I'm actually going to send this to. We'll send that off. Okay. And this incorporates the smart conferencing component. And within that smart conferencing, we give you a smart conference dashboard, which allows you to mute and unmute people and effectively they kick them out of the conference if you need to. Or now we've enabled the recording. So what you can see when you come into here is you actually will be able to see the conference bridge as it's ready. And we're actually just in the process of getting notified right now. So I'm joining the conference bridge right now, as is Vincent, if he received that notification. So he's listening right now. You can see that it's still ready for me. The conference bridge will be connected once 2 of us have joined. So I'm joined, and he's pressing 1 right now to join. And we'll give that just a second to catch up to me. And then we'll be able to launch the dashboard for it. And we'll be able to have access into that conference bridge. And that should now go to live. And now we've launched the conference bridge dashboard. So you can see here that Bart and Lisa did not join. Vincent and I are in here. You can see when we joined. I can mute them if I need to mute them. I can kick them out if I need to, but more importantly, you can see the recording over here. Okay? So it will take this entire conversation. I can end this conference bridge if I would like to. And once I end that conference bridge, as Vincent had mentioned, when I come back to my incident, I can come back and take a look, and now I can actually replay the conference bridge from right here. Okay. So that, I think, covers all of the items that we wanted to cover in the spring release in a little bit more detail. So I'll open it up if we have any other questions that I did not answer.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lisa. Great demonstration, great presentation. Yeah, hopefully it gave you enough information onto how to do it yourself. And again, feel free to get on italerting.com for more information. I'm just going to put it here. And with that, we're going to open it up for questions. So the first question that we received is about Smart Conference. The question is, what's the difference between Smart Conference that Lisa just showed us and the conference bridges that we use? So I believe the question is about how to make the difference between what we used to call the traditional conference bridges, so that's the feature that comes by default that you've been using for years, and the new Smart Conference. So the difference is basically what Lisa just showed us. Smart Conference comes with a dashboard with much more features, which are going to give you the ability to join, for the resolvers to join a conference bridge in one click. There will be no need for entering an access code versus the traditional conference bridge, which require access code. You'll be able to record, you'll be able to mute people, you'll be able to track how long it takes to people to jump on the conference bridge. So it's very useful for auditing, post-mortem incident reviews, and so on and so forth. Plus, you can keep track of what happened during the conference call with the recording. So just to make sure that it's clear for everybody, it comes with your subscription. So you are entitled to up to 4 numbers. Now, it is only available upon request. So you need to send a request to your account manager or to the support center at everbridge.com. So they are going to turn this feature on for you. So again, no additional cost, comes with your subscription, but you still need to ask for it.
And they'll ask you some questions about what area code you may want numbers in and countries and things like that. So there are some options with that, but you do need to request it.
Okay, the next question is about the translation.
Yes.
Is there a specific setting that needs to be done to get to have access to translations?
There is not. Really, in order to have the translation, so it's set up for scenarios, so you just need to ensure scenarios is enabled. which again is out of the box by default, an option for IT alerting. And then really what you need to do is effectively name your variables, as I mentioned, with the language appended to the end, and create a scenario template that has translation at the end of that template name. Once you do that, that translation box at the top will appear, and you'll be able to send out and translate between the fields on there. So there's nothing that needs to be enabled. It's simply a matter of naming conventions. It's out of the box, in place, and ready for you.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. And the next question is about the member portal. Question is regarding the subscription. So just let me, before we get into the question itself, the use case here is some of the users on the platform may be interested in receiving alerts depending on the type of application, the nature of the incident, the severity of the incident, based on a subscription mode. So the question is, has there been any development on the user portal to subscribe to the alarms that an individual wants to be notified on? So I don't know if the question is about what is new in regards to subscription, or if we have subscription at all.
It may be a little bit of both. So currently today, we have the ability to subscribe to alerts based on two ways: alert subscriptions or additional information fields. That's in place today and has been in place since the beginning of IT alerting. So no new development has been done on it yet, but the functionality is out there and available to be used depending on what you're looking to do and how you're looking to set it up. So there are, again, two options, and we can follow up directly and give you some more information on that.
Yeah. And again, for any information about how to set it up, how to use those features that we're talking about, remember that you can get to the Everbridge University. For most of those features, we have either a documentation, a how-to, quick cookbook, or a video to show you how to easily set up those features. And I believe this is it for the questions. So if you don't have any more questions, thank you again for joining us today. Thank you, Lisa, for this great demo, and we'll be in touch in a few months for the summer release. Thank you.
Thank you.